Well, hello, and we have uh, this week and next week left in Psalm 51. This is the Lenten period, and we're coming up to Easter. Um, we are in a interesting situation in history. If you're watching this in the future, we are not at the peak of the coronavirus crisis, but I'm in New York, which is now where the overwhelming majority of cases are. Of course, mostly in New York City, which is about 6.5, 7 hours away from me. I'm in Houghton, New York. You can see behind me the Fancher building where I work. And uh, we are in an interesting situation. We aren't quite sure, or at least maybe the scientists are, we aren't quite sure how long this quarantine kind of situation will work. There are no travel bans. We can go to the store and so forth, but we're supposed to stay indoor. All of the non-essential Houghton employees are working from home. It's a very interesting time in history, unprecedented, I would say. And so today's verse is very helpful. Restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and renew a right spirit within me. So that's the verse that we're on today. And I've just translated it, but look at this Hebrew, if you have a little facility with Hebrew, and see if you can translate it. And I've given you my translation. Cause to return to me the joy of your salvation, and a right spirit, a noble spirit. Uh, you will rest in me. You will establish in me. We'll talk about this word here a little bit later on. So let's look into a little bit more detail at the translation. So here it is. This is a causative. So cause to return. Cause to return to me. The sason, the joy of your salvation. Yeshua, of course, Jesus' name, Joshua, Yeshua, has to do with salvation. He, and so there's a fun play between the name Jesus and the word salvation. The joy of your salvation, and a noble spirit, a willing spirit, a right spirit. Um, it will rest in me. I have some question about whether we should take this as a kind of command or as a statement. The parallelism with the cause to turn in me makes me think that perhaps we should think of this here um, as a jussive, perhaps that is an option, or that it has the sense of um, cause to return to me the joy, and cause to rest, or not cause to rest, but establish in me a noble spirit, or a right spirit, a willing spirit. So that's a sense of the basic translation of this passage. This is a fairly short verse. Let's turn now to the grammar. So this form right here, hashiva, you can see in the middle the sheen and the bait. This is the word shuv. Shuv means to turn or to return. And it is the middle letter. So if there are three basic consonants to most Hebrew verbs, you have the sheen is the first one, and the bait is the last one. But what is the middle letter in the kind of triliteration? And it's a vav. And middle yod and middle vav verbs are called, they're weak verbs. Weak because that middle letter tends to go away. And so you're often looking at two letters and you're thinking, where is my third consonant? And sometimes they're called hollow verbs. It's because like they don't even have a middle in the inside of them. I haven't heard that term in a while, but I came across it last night as I was preparing this PowerPoint. But when the middle verb goes to hirik yod here, from shuv to shev, and it has a hey on the front, then I'm thinking that it's hiphil. So this is a hiphil, or an H stem, which is a causative stem. So if shuv means to turn, then the H stem would be to cause to return. Now, this is an imperative. Uh, Lord, cause to return to me is the command. By the way, Blue Letter Bible had Kadash, I think Kadash listed, even though it's not in the text. I haven't quite figured out. I didn't do a lot of research, but I did a little research to try to find out if there's a textual variant here in some manuscripts. We don't have enough manuscripts of the Old Testament really to have as much textual variant as we have, say, with the New Testament. The Dead Sea Scrolls sometimes provide some textual variants, but I cut bait and went ahead and made the video before I fully understood why Blue Letter Bible has another verb kind of listed there that isn't anywhere in the text. It's in a previous verse, but I'll leave that aside right now. This Kamatse also, I moved here, of course, about 6 months ago, so my books aren't all combobulated, but none of my beginning Hebrew grammars explained to me sufficiently that this Kamatz hey. I'm thinking that it's what's called a voluntative hey, which is often used with commands. And so it doesn't really add much of anything to the translation. This translates simply as cause to return to me. And so it's shuv and it's second masculine singular. To me, the sason, the joy of your salvation. So ka is second masculine singular possessive pronoun, your, and then yasha is the word for salvation. So cause to return to me the joy of, so this is construct. Construct in Hebrew means you put the word of after it. There's nothing in the form really that tells you that other than the shava. It's lost. So when something goes into construct, it's like it gets all the wind knocked out of it. And so what would have been a longer vowel here, maybe a kamatz or something, has been downgraded to the lowest breath, which is a vocal schwa. And a holem vav is a historically long vowel that doesn't reduce. It's just never going to reduce, no matter whether it's construct or anything. It never, it's super vowel. It never gets the wind knocked out of it. So to me, the joy of, by the way, to me, la is to, e is me. And we've seen e and la before a lot. The joy of your salvation and a spirit, a noble spirit or a willing spirit. So ruach is one of those really, and again, this is my impression. I'm not really a Hebrew expert. I'm not horrible at Hebrew, but I'm not a Hebrew scholar. So ruach is, I sense, one of those really old words that kind of breaks the rules of gender. So this is my impression, the really old words before gender got kind of established so that everything fits together. So ruach is a feminine word, even though it doesn't have any feminine endings. But the kamatz hey here on nadiva is feminine. So the adjective reveals the gender of the noun here, because adjectives have to agree with their nouns in gender, number, and definiteness. So these are both singular, that's number. These are both, they don't have the word the on it, so they're not definite, and they're both feminine, okay? This last word is very interesting. The ni on the end is the me, just like hirik yod here, this hirik yod with a nun to piggyback on, and it's either a nun paragogicum or nun energicum, something like that. Just basically means a needless nun, a nun we don't need. But anyway, that means me. And so what samik, interesting, the letter samik, to rest or to establish, something like that. So the tav on the front is, first of all, there's nothing done to it. So it's a call or a grundstam, a G stem. Then there's nothing not done to it, so it's a G stem. And then it has a tav on the front, which makes me think imperfect. And it makes me think second masculine singular. And indeed, this is the parsing that I've found in all my resources. The reason why I question that is because if it was imperfect, I might think that you translate this something like cause to return to me the joy of your salvation, and you will establish in me a noble spirit. But that's not the way I've heard it translated. You always hear it translated as, and renew a right spirit within me. You hear it translated as a command. So the imperfect looks the same in many cases as what's called the jussive. So I wanted to parse this as a jussive and let a right spirit uh, uh, it be established in me. So let me just leave that there. Some of you out there have studied Hebrew in more depth than I have. Maybe you have an opinion on it, but this could be conceived of as a jussive. Let be established in me a right spirit. Now, it may be that it's simply a matter of parallelism. Sometimes imperfects and other things, they simply conform to whatever the train of thought is. So it's possible that what's happening here is that since the train of thought is imperative, restore to me the joy of your salvation, therefore, that we're just going to naturally and renew a right spirit within me. We're just going to naturally make that somewhat imperative rather than indicative because of the parallelism. Well, okay, enough grammar talk. I look forward to hearing from some of you out there who are Hebrew aficionados. Let's talk about the letters here. Hey, kamatz, sheen, hirik yod, which is a vowel combination, bait, kamatz hey, which is a vowel combination. Very interesting here that the lamed looks doubled. And hirik yod, which is a vowel combination. I'm not quite sure what to do. Sometimes I've noticed this happen sometimes, and I'm just not quite sure what to do with that dot, because you don't usually have a doubled letter at the beginning of a word. I'm just going to ignore it, okay? And again, some of you may want to weigh in on what's going on there. Those of you who are into the depths of the grammar, I of course can do some research if need be, but I'm doing this on the side. I have a day job. Then we have sason, joy, which is seen, vocal schwa. At the beginning of a word, it's a vocal schwa. Almost always, except for the word to. Anyway, seen, whole and vav, that's a vowel combination. Final nun, yod, hirik, sheen, silent schwa. This syllable is closed, short vowel, and so it's yish. Ayin, segol, final kaf, kamatz, vav, vocal schwa, resh, sharuk, furtive patak, kate. Nun, vocal schwa, dalet, hirik yod, bait, kamatz hey, which is a vowel combination, tav, hirik, samic, silent schwa. This syllable is closed. Whenever you have two schwas in a row, the first one is a silent schwa, and the second is a vocal schwa. And this is a short syllable, tis. Mem, vocal schwa, kaf, sere, that's a saluk saying this verse is now ended. Nun, hirik yod, which is a vowel combination, and then sof pasuk, which formally ends the verb. So the pronunciation is hashiva li, sason, yish eka, yisheka. It'll be yish eka. In this kind of situation, the second to last syllable will be stressed. So yisheka, varuach, nadiva, tismakeni. Tismakeni. Again, the second to last syllable will be the stressed one. Tismakeni. So, restore unto me the joy of thy salvation, and renew a right spirit within me. See you next week.